let's turn the sound off, shall we? Okay. Right, everything seems to be ticking along. So good evening. Hopefully you're all feeling good and fine. You're all looking forward to the new COVID restrictions being, well, the new unrestrictions, shall I say, next week. I've actually been out to the pub already, sat outside and had a pint, but I must admit I'm not very keen on any particular crowded place, so it's been a bit of a kind of minor one. But yeah, hopefully the sun is shining, spring is definitely kind of well underway, although I wish my plants were a bit warmer. They're not growing very well at the allotment at the moment. Nothing's really moving particularly brilliantly. But yeah, it feels like the year is beginning to move into the next season, which is always a good thing. Okay, so first off, I have a new course beginning in 2 weeks, on 24th of May. The course will take place, the lectures will take place on Twitch, and then there will be private seminars on Zoom for people in the Free University of Brighton, because the course is run for the Free University of Brighton. And this is going to be a 10-week course, and it's a little bit more experimental than usual. The course is called the Freudian Spaceship, as the details down there kind of telling you about. You can join the course if you're a member of the Free University of Brighton on our platform River. If you're not on River, you are welcome to join through my Discord and like, if you know, involve yourself in the conversation. I can put up readings and stuff on the Discord. All the details of which are on the Twitch page. So, right, what I'm going to do is just what I've done on River and what I've done for the students in the Free University of Brighton. So what I'm going to do here is I've just given a brief a topic post. We have a topic post on what the course is about. So I thought I would cover that here as well, and then I can obviously, let people know what's going on. So I will bring this up, and you can see that this is the text I was. Let's just bring that up for you. This is the text that I was using, description for the River and the Discord and my website. So I'm just going to run through that and explain to you what that course is. Let's move this actually out of the way just while I'm doing that. Oh. Right. So this is a slightly different course from most of my previous ones, in that I'll be primarily focused on teaching my own philosophical research rather than merely teaching another philosopher. We will of course be looking at other philosophers, but they'll be part of a dialogue and critique. So the project I've been working on for the last 5 years, which is the subject of this course, is entitled The Freudian Spaceship. And it's an attempt to think the contemporary situation of the human, developing a response as well as a possibility. Now that odd phrasing, an attempt to think, is important here, as it refers to the fact that this is not a finished thought, but rather a still active, developing process. It's not yet failed or succeeded in its goal. It's still an attempt. It's still in the process of being born. So the project is one in collaboration with a psychoanalyst called Eric Harper. And Dr. Harper works as an analyst with the Site in London and is a lecturer in psychoanalysis at Goldsmiths University. We met at a Deleuze reading group in London, and since then have been writing and talking together regularly. And we share a common background in many ways: working class, politically active, interested in mental health. Eric is from South Africa and was a member of the South African Communist Party and the ANC, the African National Congress. He went on to work with sex workers in Africa, with torture victims from apartheid, and with the homeless on the streets of London. I myself grew up in a working class socialist family, becoming involved in revolutionary politics at an early age and being imprisoned for violent disorder following the poll tax riots of 1990. We both came to academia late, in my own case after being released from prison. We both come from political backgrounds, but we've also both gone through a long process of engagement with philosophy and psychoanalysis as necessary complements, perhaps even as necessary correctives to anything we think of as political. Now, the project is reaching the point at which we will be publishing work resulting from it. The aim of this course is to present some of the ideas we'll be publishing in the form of a book. It is also an attempt to engage in a process of something like collective production. It's not that uncommon to read in the acknowledgements to a work a dedication to participants in a seminar where the ideas in the work were presented, and it's in that spirit that this new course is intended. This is a seminar where you will hopefully learn about some of the key ideas and thinkers at the heart of our research, as well as having a crucial and important contribution to the way the final research appears. As such, everyone in the seminar will be credited in the acknowledgements, and I'm hoping we might even be able to go further than that and be able to develop some co-produced work. Now, what is the focus of the project? As mentioned already, the central research problem is an attempt to think the contemporary situation of the human, developing a response as well as a possibility. It takes as its starting point or inspiration the work of schizoanalysis and the work of decolonisation, in terms of how they allow us to understand capitalism. In terms of key names, this means the thought of Karl Marx, Sigmund Freud, Deleuze and Guattari, and Frantz Fanon. These are the key teachers to whom we have turned and from whom we develop our own work. And just as in any relationship to a teacher, we neither simply agree nor disagree with these figures. Rather, we find that we're able to learn from them, sometimes through our disagreement as much as our agreement. A wide range of other thinkers also play an important role, but we also draw on our own selves, our own experience, and our own life. This is an attempt to do philosophy for ourselves, not simply to explain what some other philosophers have said. As such, elements of this will be unpolished, in flux, and still to be completed. It's a little unnerving to do such a thing, as we are not able to present a confident, comfortable set of answers and arguments. Rather, what will be presented here is a thinking in process. The invitation is to participate in this process. In practical terms, our project is divided into 3 parts, called breath, body, and earth. We completed the breath section a couple of years ago and are currently finishing the body and earth sections. The breath section develops our response to the current situation of the human on this planet, specifically beginning from the death of Eric Garner in 2014, whilst the body and earth sections develop possibilities for how the human and the planet could be encountered. I have printed out a dozen copies of the breath section, which is 84 pages long, including a number of blank pages at the end for participants to use in their own way and for their own responses. It is a harsh and angry text, furious about the world around it, and records our attempts to face up to and think about the kind of world in which Eric Garner could be killed in such a brutal way. It locates the role of breath as a fundamental category of this world, specifically linking it to the climate crisis and diagnosing our world as living in a time of the last breath. I'm asking participants to read through this text as we go through the course. There will be a PDF version available as well, but if you wish to have a copy of the printed text, please message me and I'll arrange to get one to you. There's only a dozen, and so I don't expect there to be more than enough requests, but obviously it's first come, first served to a certain extent, with Free University of Brighton people being prioritised. Alongside this text, I'll be presenting some of the ideas that we are developing. Breath as the fundamental drive, homelessness as our contemporary way of being on the earth, the intimacy of the connection between planetary and human life, the destructive dominance of an abstraction over life in the form of capitalism, and the role of what we call the interval as a condition of thought. Now, this all sounds like depressingly difficult stuff, but we are trying fundamentally to think about the possibility of life, joyous, beautiful, wondrous life. We take inspiration in large part from moments in Fanon and Deleuze and Guattari, where they try to open a future world of joy and love from within this moment. Fanon's revolution, for example, begins not with violence but with the moment of love. He says, "Today I believe in the possibility of love. That is why I endeavour to trace its imperfections, its perversions." Deleuze and Guattari, in their book What is Philosophy, says something that we think connects to this. They say, "It may be that believing in this world, this life, becomes our most difficult task, or the task of a mode of existence still to be discovered on our plane of immanence today." In both cases, the thinking aims not at making us sad or showing us how terrible things are. Rather, they aim to make the world something we can believe in again. We aim to find a way to overcome our sadness, to overcome a sense of meaninglessness and nihilism in the face of the world around us. We try and do this through a number of means. First, we use a model or frame of connections on 3 levels: that of the one-to-one, the group, and the community. Second, we try and think these connections beyond the human. Third, we conceive the breath as fundamental drive, as the mode of common existence. Fourth, we explore what we call the interval as the condition of thought. Fifth, we focus on the importance of the dream and dream space as a condition of freedom. We will be exploring what we mean by each of these things as part of the course. Finally, the Freudian spaceship. What on earth is this? This is an image or idea that we came up with at the beginning of the project. We imagined the Earth as a Freudian spaceship, in other words, as the home of life moving through space, and which is not just alive in its own right, but which is also alive in a Freudian sense, that is, as driven, as composed and comprised of drives and an unconscious formed by a moment of primary repression. It's a working tool, this image, one that enables us to try and think beyond our own perspective as human or animal, and to try to come to a new idea of the future. This use of an image or idea is also a key part of our methodology. We develop 3 figures, or what are sometimes called conceptual personae, that we think offer modes of living that we affirm or that we can learn from: the revolutionary, the sorcerer, and the psychoanalyst. We try to allow our intuitions and our poetics into our thought as a way of allowing our bodies to speak as well as our minds. We pay attention to signs or symptoms and try to assemble them together into something like a body as a way of thinking that doesn't dismiss rationality and yet doesn't deny the irrational. Above all, we try to find a way to respond to the world around us with honesty, knowing all the while that this is never a simple matter, bound up as it is within our own social, psychical and physical needs. Thank you, and I look forward to your participation if you want to get involved. Now, there is some preparatory reading that will be useful if you want to get yourself, as it were, into a little bit of the mind state or head state within which the conversation and the discussions of the course will take place. I'm trying to pick reasonably short texts here for this kind of preparatory reading, but if you fancy getting into the zone and getting your brain boxes whirring, try one or more of these. I've suggested specific sections of these texts, so that if you want to, you can read these short extracts from all of them, or you might want to just read one short section, or you might find yourself drawn to read the remainder of the texts. Now, I have attached copies of these texts in the Free University of Brighton's River, and I will also make them available on my Discord. So the texts are Aimé Césaire, Discourse on Colonialism, and this is the first section, or pages 31 to 46 of his Discourse on Colonialism. The second text is Sigmund Freud, chapter 1 and 2 of a text called An Outline of Psychoanalysis. The third text is Deleuze and Guattari, an interview on Anti-Oedipus with Raymond Balleur, which is contained in Gilles Deleuze's Letters and Other Texts on pages 195 to 239. The fourth text is Frantz Fanon, chapter 5, from Black Skin, White Masks. And the fifth text, which is a little bit more complicated because I wanted to have a text from Marx but couldn't quite work out which one to use. The fifth text is a video, in fact, from someone called Richard Gilman-Opalski from a TEDx talk on the 31st of March 2021. That's called What's Love Got to Do with Communism? So these are kind of preparatory texts that will help you if you're interested in the course and you want to kind of get as it were, as I said, into the zone, get your brain boxes whirring in the right kind of way. And as I say, they are available in River for Free University Brighton students and on my Discord as of tomorrow, the 11th of May, when I will put them up there. Okay, thanks. So that's the outline and the kind of basic prep for the new course that will begin